Hi everybody, Patrick here from EngineeringShock.com. Thanks for watching. This is the Troll video manual. The Troll has 3 days left on its Kickstarter campaign. When you see this video, if the campaign is still up, please consider having a look. The link will be below. This video is going to serve as talking about all of the hardware and the 4 programs. And because this is an Atmega 328PU chip, you can take the sample code that I provide and you can change the code as you see fit, or you can take the code that I provide and completely change it so you can make your own programs. But well, let me just start off with talking about the hardware. We've got the reset button, RST, the sell button, SEL. Reset just resets the whole program. Sell is used, the sell button is used for different programs. We've got 3 methods of power. We got a terminal block here, which I'm using my desktop power supply. Positive, it's labeled the V+, and GND ground. Don't reverse that, else you'll pop your 5-volt regulator. We got USB, and USB you just plug into your computer and it will power the board. This jumper will come into play. I'll talk about that a little bit later. We've got a AC to DC power jack. You can use 9 to 12 volts. This is the 5-volt regulator. There's a little jumper labeled 5 volts. And if you're using the terminal block to power, or if you're using the AC to DC wall adapter for power, you want to make sure that that jumper is placed there. However, if you're using USB to power it, remove that jumper. It's just good for the regulator. We've got a ground line, a GD, 5-volt line, and we've got all of the analog pins of the Arduino Atmega chip. So you can use those to program as you'd like. This little light-dependent resistor right here, which is used in one of the programs I'll get to in a few minutes. That is connected to A0, but you have access to all of the other pins if you'd like. We've got an external trigger header here. There's a 5-volt line, a ground line, and an input line. So in external trigger mode, you can trigger your own sound bites. We got our dip switch here, which one dip switch is currently not being used. You can use it for whatever program you'd like. The rightmost dip switch is used for speaker applications. I'll get to that in a little bit. And dip switches 1 and 2, the leftmost dip switches, put us in the program that we want to on power up. There's a 3-pin header right here labeled EX/SP. If you short the EX pins, the middle and the bottom pin from this perspective, then you'll be using the external audio jacks to output a signal to, say, computer speakers or a Bose player. If you have the top and middle pins shorted, SP, then you'll be using the speaker connector, and we'll get to that in just a second. Now I'm going to stop the video. I'm going to give you a better look at the board. So right now I've got SP shorted, the middle and top pins. So that means that I'm going to be using my speaker, and if I'm using my speaker, I want to make sure that dip switch 4 is set to the on position, as it is seen below. All of the other dip switches are in the off position. Dip switch 4 is in the up on position. So that means that we can use an external speaker. And I'll plug it in right here and make this portable. Now I've got a power supply powering the board right now, but what I would do is for a 9-volt battery connector, which is included with some of the reward tiers, what I would do is I would remove these, obviously. And on the top you'll see V+. It's hard to see in the video, I imagine, but there's a label here that says the top terminal. This terminal is V+. You want to place your positive power supply here, and there's a GD or a negative right here, this bottom terminal. So connect DC ground there. Again, don't reverse it. You'll pop the regulator right here, which isn't the end of the world. You're not going to necessarily damage the other chips necessarily, but you don't want to pop your regulator. And so again, positive, negative. And you don't need to use a 9-volt power supply. You can a battery. You can use another battery, 9 to 12 volts. And again, this is your AC to DC power jack. And we'll probably be using that for most of this video, just plugging in here. Just to give you a better look of the hardware on the top, again, here's our 5V jumper. It's shorted because we're not going to be using the USB to power the board for right now. This is a light dependent resistor. It helps us in lights out mode, and all of our analog pins and a regulated 5-volt line and ground line. our two audio jacks, and we'll get to that in a minute. I'll tell you why there's two. But our external trigger line, ground, 5-volt in, and again that's used if we want to use, say, a PIR sensor, a motion sensor, or a switch to manually activate a sound bite. And you can modify external trigger mode as you see fit in the software. I've got the speaker connected to the SP header, and again here is the EX-SP header. Now, if I want to use, if I want to plug this into the audio output into, say, a set of computer speakers, like this, it's easy. What I'm going to do: unplug the speaker, set dip switch 4 to off, and I'm going to unplug SP and plug in EX for external. From here, I can do one of two things. It doesn't matter which jack you use. Let's just say I want to plug external audio into, say, a computer speaker or Bose player. I'll connect the other end to the stereo input of my audio device. Let's say that I want to take the audio coming from my computer and I want to inject sounds from the Troll into it. I take the stereo output from the computer, plug it into either terminal, doesn't matter which one, and I plug a second stereo cable to the opposite jack, and I plug the other end of that to the input, the stereo input of my audio device. And what that will do is it will inject whatever sound bites we have programmed to work in whichever mode, along to inject it and mix it essentially with the audio coming from your computer, which is really great. It's very important that you keep dip switch 4 in mind, because if you have the speaker connected and you don't have the dip switch in the proper position, the speaker is going to eat power, which is going to warm the regulator, and it's also going to waste battery power. A 9-volt battery will not last long if you don't take that dip switch setting into account. But for this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give a quick demo using the onboard speaker, but for the rest of the video I'm going to use an external audio player because of the volume difference. The great thing that making this portable with this little tiny speaker is that it's a tiny speaker, it's not very loud, it makes it very hard to find, which is great. It makes it for something very easy to hide it in the ceiling, hide it in a couch. That's what makes this a Troll. But for the sake of the video, trying to give you the optimal audio experience, I want to plug in my computer speakers so that you can really get each of the sounds very clearly. But I'm going to do one example with the speaker connected, and then I'll do the same example and the rest of the examples with a set of computer speakers connected. SP is jumped, dip switch 4 is on, all other dip switches are off. Speaker connected, we are ready to roll. 5-volt header jumped, powering up. And we're in lights out mode. So I'm going to turn off the light, the LED will blink, and when I turn on the light, it will play one of 3 audio bites sequentially. So I'll turn the lights off again. I'll turn my lights back on. I'll turn the lights off. And I'll turn the lights on. Now, let's do lights out mode with the computer speaker, and we'll have a lot more volume. We've selected EX on the 3-pin header, and dip switch 4 is in the off position. I've got the audio jack connected to the stereo input of my computer speakers. I'll power up. We're still in lights out mode. Lights out. LED blinks. Lights on. Lights off. Someone walks into the room. Lights off. Lights on. While still powered on, let's select bugger mode. And what I'll do is I will turn dip switch 2 on, and I'll press reset, and we'll hear some sexy sounds. And if I want to select sexy sounds, I'll press and hold the cell button for 2 seconds, but if I want to skip to the next, I'll tap it. And in this case, I'll be selecting beep sound bites as they're going beep, beep, Sound bites, they're really great for trolling people, so if I want to select that, I'll tap cell. If I want to skip to the next, if I want to skip to the next, I'll tap it. If I want to select it, I will press and hold for 2 seconds. So I'm going to tap it to go to belches. And if I want to select belches, I will press and hold for 2 seconds. But if I want to skip to farts, I will tap once. And if I'm just going to select farts, if I tap once more, I'll go back to the sexy sound bites. But what I'll do is I will select farts by pressing and holding and letting go. And it's going to play fart bites, pardon me, flatulent sound bites at different time intervals. And that is programmed into the code. You can change those time intervals as you see fit. You hide this, and it's not one of the more embarrassing trolls. You can hide it under somebody's seat during a meeting. Just don't get fired. So one of the many things you can do. So you just leave it at this point until you want to reset it. At any point, you can just reset it, and you can just select the sound bite again. So I'll press reset, and we're back to the sexy sound bite. So I'll select sexy sound bites by pressing and holding for 2 seconds. And now I'll just leave it. It's done. I've selected it. It's going to play. And again, because there have been so many sound bites added, you can change this up as you like. There's so many sound bites. Check out the library. The library is linked below. In the project page in the Kickstarter campaign has all of the information. Everything is collated into one nice web page. So let's go on to the next program. So let's select external trigger mode. And I will press dip switch 1 to the on position. And I will press reset. And now we're in external trigger mode. So I've got a bunch of fart sound bites programmed to play sequentially. Every time you trigger this manually, you can use your own circuitry, you can use your own switches, and whatever you like. You can use an external Arduino if you want, so under certain conditions it will feed a pulse, a positive pulse to the input, which will cause a trigger. But I've got a bunch of flatulence fart sound bites to play. You can program it however you like. So I'm going for the sake of demonstration, I'm going to short in and 5 volts with a little jumper, and that's going to play a fart sound bite. I'll do it again. Do it again. So a button or something that feeds a 5-volt pulse to the input line. It's very simple. And it will just play those sound bites over and over again because that's how I've got it programmed. But again, because the code is commented, it's available, and this is an @mega chip. This is the chip that's in your Arduino. You pop this chip out, you pop it in your Arduino, you take my sample code, you mess with it, you put the chip back in, making sure it's the right orientation, with obviously the notch to the left side of the board, and you can make this your own. You can really go to town with this. And because there's a light-dependent resistor on it, that adds even more fun to the mix. So, external trigger mode, very easy to use. Send a positive pulse to the line. Tell the chip which audio bytes you want using the library that's provided, the audio library. It's just an Excel file with a bunch of call numbers. So you call a sound bite and you play you execute the readout command, and it will play that sound bite. Okay, so now haunting mode. We're going to switch dip switch 2 on. So dip switch 1 and dip switch 2 are on. Remember, dip switch 3 is not being used. You can use it as you see fit if you want to change the program around. And so with dip switch 1 and dip switch 2 on, I press reset, and now I'm in haunting mode. And in haunting mode, it plays a scary sound. I've got a program for the first one to play after 20 seconds. And then every one after that, I've got a program to play 10 seconds later. And it plays, I believe, six series sound bites sequentially. And because I've added so many to the library, you can change the code as you see fit. Leroy Miller, the good Leroy Miller, he's been a good friend to a bunch of our campaigns, these campaigns, and I appreciate him for it. He's a much better programmer than I am. And he's been working on a library for this that's going to really build on these humble beginnings. So imagine hiding this in an attic. Wasn't that just brutal? Anyway, so yeah, it's just going to do that sequentially. It's like bugger mode, but it's dedicated specifically to haunting sound bites. and there have been some really, really scary and annoying sound bites added to the library. So last things, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to remove power. I'm going to remove the 5-volt jumper. I'm going to stay in a haunting mode, but I'm going to power the device using USB. So the 5-volt jumper is gone. And take a USB cable, pop that on. I'll plug it into my USB in my computer, and after 20 seconds, the first audio bite will play, the evil laugh. So you can plug this into the back of your computer, and what's great is you can use your computer to power it. You can connect the stereo output from the back of your computer to one of the audio jacks, and the other audio jack you can connect to your computer speakers. So not only can your computer power it, but it can also play audio through the Troll through your computer speakers, and the Troll will inject its own noises onto the audio line. So it will mix. Some music playing here, Alan Parsons' project, with the Troll mixing audio into the computer audio. I'll skip to the next soundbite.
I set out to make my mark, to forge the path, in spots and waves, enchanting.
Breathing. Can you hear that?
Crafting tales and magic spells. When I find my way,
That's so creepy.
though the burden is great, every now
Just imagine the possibilities. So that's it. It's very easy to use, and if you know some basic Arduino programming, you take my commented code and you fiddle with it as you see fit. Or better yet, you take the library that's being developed by Leroy Miller and you work with that. The possibilities are endless, and really, I hope that people aren't mean-spirited with this. But I mean, I hope that I hear some good stories down the road of people getting revenge on people who have pranked them, or just people who have had fun trolling with the Troll. So thanks for watching. I realize it's been kind of a long video. I do appreciate you taking the time. I hope you reference it again, and I hope you share this with your pranks with your friends. I hope you have a great day, everyone. Thank you for your support on this campaign. Take